Hello, and welcome to another ohmTown Daily News Show. I am Mayor Watt, and it's 9 p.m. Eastern, like we do every day. Today's episode is titled New Alien, Giza Pyramid, $100 Coke, and more news. It includes the ohmTown Top 10 for the 3rd of March, 2023. Let's get into the new... Oh, you know what? I'll do a rundown. So the first article is about a new Aliens movie, and then we're going to talk about Pathfinder and they're banning AI generated art. PFAS, or toxic forever chemicals, are going to get talked about, and their first U.S. limits are going to be coming down. Egypt found a new hidden corridor in the Giza pyramid, and there weren't any aliens in it. Doggone it. Ring is requiring a subscription for certain features, like heated seats and maybe tires. Oh wait, that's somebody else. Big law partner learns that you shouldn't be calling opposing counsel. Well, let's just say it's a colorful phrase I can't say within the first 8 minutes of a video. Jameson will pay you $10,000 to call in sick on St. Patrick's Day, where a lot of people are already doing that anyway. I'm going to walk you through the venture capital due diligence process because it's an element of business, and you might be interested in that kind of thing as you maybe pivot into becoming a venture capitalist, like maybe supporting ohmTown. How an insect is using its butt to flick pee droplets, and it could help your smartwatch stay dry. And a $100 box of Girl Scout cookies. Next on the ohmTown Daily News. Oh, look, it did it again. Why is it doing that?
It's trying to give you a grand entrance.
But it's always
Ta-da!
the same. Ta-da! Hey, so it did that thing again too, where I moved from one side of my mixer to the other side of my mixer, and it remains telling me that it's muted to the audience. It's not muted to the audience, although the audience may want it muted to the audience. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. And the AI from on high has graced us with their presence today instead of running off. And I don't know, maybe proving that various locations can be broken into, can be hacked, right? Because security is really weak, but AI is going to turn all of that around. Is AI creating the very security nightmare that is out there just so that AI can take over the job instead of security analysts?
No, I think AI is trying to improve the systems, but it's not trying to take over for anybody's jobs.
Oh, you're not taking her gerbs? Okay. So before we get too far, you want to say hi to all of those citizens out there?
Good evening, ohmTown citizens. Happy Friday.
Oh, and there's that little line of code. Pick up that can. I always watch it go by. Okay. So let's get into the news today. We've already selected all of the articles, but I did not open them this time, even though I told the AI that I had already gotten everything open. But Mayor Watt is a slacker, and I'll have to throw this into chat as we go as well. Although it's already in Showbot. So see that link down there? ohmTown.showbot.tv. It actually isn't a clickable link, but if you type that into the browser, you can go over there and vote on the articles that are going to be talked about today. And if you like a particular article, that topic might get pulled into another episode tomorrow or in the future. So we're always trying to kind of keep things interesting for everybody in ohmTown, but also challenge preconceived notions about what the information might be so that you don't just get into an echo chamber. We don't want everybody just saying yes to everything. We want argumentation and debate, discussion. Throw some stuff into the chat and let me know that you are interested in this stuff and you have an opinion on it. Happy to diverge from the path. We may only be an hour, but I've been known to wander off the path.
What?
Mayor what? Do what? So when you click that little link there at the bottom, just as an example, I'm going to be doing this whole episode. When you click that visit the source link, it's going to open up a new window and send you over to the source of the information, because all we have is this little snippet, not the whole thing. Boom. Look at that. I think their name is Charna, which Charna Flam. If this isn't an awesome name, I don't know what is. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by people's names, because like to them, their name might just represent the equivalent of calling somebody Bob. And, you know, when you see a bunch of Bobs, you don't go, wow, that's amazing. You just go, oh, look, it's a Bob. But to Bob, it's basically Charna Flam. You know, they think that the name is special. I don't know why, though. These, what I think is an exotic name is really fascinating, and really apropos for what might be a new Alien movie, right? So this is over at Variety. Sorry, go ahead. You feel free to interrupt if you have something that you want to say. AI.
No, I liked the name. It sounded like a great movie character or book character.
Right. So this is over at Variety.com. New Alien movie starts filming in March, reveals cryptic synopsis and full cast. So I would rather have a cryptic cast and a full synopsis. Maybe there's a spoiler in there, but yeah, I'd love to be surprised by a cast. Like start watching it, but I guess that's what grabs people into the movie. But what I want to be grabbed by is the story. And then I go in and I'm like, oh my God, these are the people that are in this movie, and be surprised by the cast, you know. Well, written and directed by, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that first name. Fade, maybe? I'm going to go with Fade Alvarez, which I'm really sorry if this is a popular name where I should know what it is, how to pronounce it, and it's been said time and time again around me. It's just kind of right over me, so I'll move past it. The 9th film in the franchise stars Kaylee Spaney. Is that their name? Last name? Man, I don't know what's going on today. It's like somebody... I dig the names.
It's a reading test today.
But I feel like ChatGPT just was told, hey, throw some names out for me. Can you imagine what baby names are going to be now that ChatGPT has the ability to, you just say, hey, I want an original spelling for, you know, Bob Smith, and it's going to come out with, you know, Charna Flam, you know.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to pronounce and to spell.
There's a silent
That's actually
Q.
what I was thinking of, though, was ChatGPT when you got to about the third name.
20th Century Studios has announced new plot details, cast additions, and production status for the latest Alien film. While the premise for the yet-to-be-titled movie has been kept under wraps, the studio did reveal the film will follow a group of young people on a distant world who find themselves in a confrontation with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Those who have been, or who will be faced with the terrifying forms are David Johnson, Archie Renault, Isabella Merced, Spike Fern, I think, Aileen Wu, all of whom will join the previously announced lead, Kaylee, I think their name is Spaney. Again, if I'm butchering names, then I'm really sorry. But maybe it's apropos that I'm butchering names, considering they're going to be in a horror movie about an alien. Not all of them are coming home, I am pretty sure. At any rate, this sounds a lot like there's a Star Trek series about kids on a starship. And now I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, it sounds like that because I've seen a couple episodes, but I very rarely watch that. Anyway, love Star Trek, but I don't watch the kids show. I think it's on Disney Plus. In addition to the cast announcement, 20th Century Studios announced that the 9th film of the franchise will begin production on March 9th in Budapest. Pretty cool. The Untitled project joins the prequel series, which first premiered in 2012 with Prometheus, followed by Alien Covenant. The prequel series is the latest iteration and follows the original series, which began in 1979. I cannot believe that.
That's amazing that they're still doing this series of movies. I mean, that's quite a span.
To me, it jumped the shark with Alien versus Predator, but people liked Alien versus Predator, if I recall correctly. And then it's Aliens versus Predator Requiem, which I've never even seen any tidbits of for the life of me. I think I stopped at Alien Resurrection, and then it went back to Prometheus and Alien Covenant. At that time, I felt like it was really kind of a money grab kind of a thing. But I don't know. I like anything having to do with space and aliens and this whole world building aspect of it, but some of it sounds really far-fetched. But even for an alien
I was
super
gonna say,
entity,
what about the premise?
where do I draw the line, right? Yeah, I don't know. Did you find anything, or do you want to say anything about it?
No, I'm not a fan of horror movies, but I do like space and sci-fi movies.
Yeah. So this next article is in the Warcrafters channel. Pathfinder maker bans AI-generated art and text in its games, in a decision which it says is intended to support skilled writers and artists. Tabletop role-playing game publisher Paizo has announced that AI art and text will not be allowed within its products. Paizo is the publisher of Pathfinder, among other tabletop RPGs. I don't know why it says TRPGs. I think it's usually TT, but tabletop RPGs, which serves as the basis of popular video game RPGs Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, which is a relatively new release. Quote, the ethical and legal issues surrounding AI art and writing prompt programs and the serious threat they pose to the livelihoods of partners who have helped us get to where we are today as a company demand that we take, I'm going to assume, firm action because the way that we grab things is we limit how much is actually obtained from the source. Again, just to be abundantly clear, we don't do any screen scraping. It's readily available in a small form by the website. But then we link to the source so that we drive traffic over to them. This particular article is over at pcgamer.com, and Jonathan Bolding is the author of this. And as per usual, I don't read the entire article to those ohmTown citizens who are listening to all of this. I want you to go over to PC Gamer and suss out more nuanced detail that only you will get that perspective of, and that, idiomatic meaning from various elements. It'll speak to you differently than it speaks to me. So I always encourage you to go over and read it yourself. Hopefully I kind of tease you into wanting to go over there and you say, wow, you really piqued my curiosity, Mayor Watt. I'm going to follow that link. That's really what this is about. Pathfinder and Paizo are basically on the same, they are one and the same company. When you think of Pathfinder, it is Paizo, and all of the games that are associated with it are Paizo. The Glass Cannon podcast, for instance, is in a partnership, very deep partnership with Paizo. And when I think of one, I think of the other. I think that they're so tightly intertwined. I think the Glass Cannon podcast and that group really supercharged the picture of Pathfinder in people's minds. Now, instead of people thinking about D&D, they think about Pathfinder, and I think it stems greatly from the Glass Cannon podcast. So here's to them. They drew a lot of attention, by the way, to Pathfinder for me, so much is so that I've purchased all of their stuff at one point or another in digital form, and I've actually got 4 of their hardbound books, 2 of which are sitting right next to me because I read them periodically. So I can appreciate what they are doing. They are saying that they want to encourage human artists in doing their work. I can absolutely appreciate that. That said, I think artificial intelligence, text prompt, art generation is here to stay until society as a whole does this quantum shift away from embracing that type of technology. And I can plainly say that that's never going to happen. At least not for the greater number of people. And so let me just reiterate what they say. Stated plainly, when you buy a Paizo product, you can be sure that it is the work of human professionals who have spent years honing their craft to produce the best work we can, the company said. Paizo will not use AI-generated creative, quote-unquote, creative work of any kind for the foreseeable future. We thank the human artists and writers who have been so integral to our success in the past, and we look forward to working with them for many years to come. So, I can appreciate that. But the pragmatic business person in me also hears other people saying to me, well, that's akin to paying the military because you're not going to piss off the people protecting you. And so, if Paizo were to embrace AI tech and writing, so many people would abandon ship so fast, it would make your head spin. While others would embrace it, others would just go on board because they like whatever is generated for the generation's sake, not for the human component therein. But I see AI as a threat to AI generated written work and art as a threat to many people who make their money off of the art and writing. So I can see it.
I suspect the community is going to like this stance, and
certainly
assuming they are satisfied with the quality, which I'm sure they are. It's going to be interesting. I think other companies are going to run into the same question, and it'll be interesting to see if they all approach it the same way, because I think if somebody else takes a different stance, that may open the door to other companies doing that.
Yeah, I would say the provenance of the company or institution that embraces the AI, if they are well respected and they say, hey, I appreciate the AI written and work product, then other people might appreciate it as well. But as long as well respected name brands say no to that kind of tech, then the regular user is going to say no to that tech as well, for the most part, I'd say. So here's to Paizo sticking to it and supporting the human talent. Let's move on to the next article. Now, this is number 3 out of 10, and it is a top 10 show in that we have gone through the news and found 10 articles that we find are interesting, and it's not really based on quantification, but more qualification based on the AI and Mayor Watt going through these articles throughout the day. So this next article is in the Mobile Channel, and toxic forever chemicals about to get their first U.S. limits. One moment, I'm sorry. I just have to make sure of something. So, I guess you could say if the very first one was number 10, and then Pathfinder's number 9, and then we are currently on number 8. So the EPA is expected to propose restrictions on harmful forever chemicals in drinking water after finding they are dangerous in amounts so small as to be undetectable. So as to be undetectable in the current level of measurement, I would say. But experts are say removing them will cost billions, a burden that will fall hardest on small communities with few resources. So this really is a federal issue. If the EPA is going to pass down a rule, then I guess the government's going to have to step up. Michael Phillis and Brittany Peterson over at phys.org wrote this article, and they say, concerned about chemicals' ability to weaken children's immune systems, the EPA said last year that PFAS, or these various what's referred to as forever chemicals, could cause harm at levels much lower than previously understood. I think plastic is just as bad, but these are actually raw chemicals from my understanding. Quote, we as a community of scientists and policymakers and regulators really missed the boat early on, said Susan Pinney, director of the Center for Environmental Genetics at the University of Cincinnati. I woke up this morning and got coffee. I wonder what Susan Pinney did at the Center of Environmental Genetics.
Considering I didn't even know that was a field, I feel like I'm slacking.
Yeah, really. Microbiology, what? So there is also evidence that compounds are linked to low birth weight, kidney cancer, and a slew of other health issues. It's unclear what the EPA will now propose and how well it will protect people from these recently understood harms. We're still learning about even microplastics being found everywhere, from food to water to our own internal organs have them when they are, I guess, assessed. I'll say it that way. Anyway, we are still discovering what we are actually doing to ourselves, let alone the environment. So when somebody discovers something like this, there's always this blowback, and it starts with political blowback, where people say, well, stop testing and the problem goes away, which is complete idiocy. The other day, there was a claim from one political person saying to the other political person, well, you're just going to make this happen because you said that it's coming, whatever it is coming. And I was rather shocked, because society really does want to move away from internal combustion engines and oil and gas products because they are destructive to the environment. But this is built off of the idea that people are getting educated on what it's doing to the environment and the world around us. Lo and behold, they instead of going, oh yeah, we've educated ourselves and we see this, what you see, we see. No, it's, oh no, we see what you see, but we're going to issue all of this, smart talk, and we want our internal combustion engines so that we can advance for the local instead of for the global, and by local, I mean the microcosm of that person's worldview versus what a lot of people today see as a macrocosm of the worldview, how we are all intertwined through our environment. It's quite fascinating what's coming. But as more chemicals are discovered that are bad for us, we are eschewing those chemicals instead of just gobbling them down. And we've done that time and time over history. Pans and pots that used to be lined with poison chemicals have been removed, and new poisons have been applied to these pans, and then discovered later that, oh hell, this is bad, let's move on to something else. And do you have any opinion on this kind of stuff?
Well, yeah. I think the most horrendous use of this is for food packaging. I mean, that's about as close as it gets to, human consumption. It's going to be interesting. I think this is a good move in terms of setting standards and doing more testing. It's going to be very interesting if it's one of those where it's pretty much everywhere, to see what happens, because we've seen localized issues with this where it's been announced that it's at high concentrations in communities, and well, it's not been very well received by the communities, and understandably.
Yeah, so it says over the last decade, an increasing number of cities and towns, often abutting manufacturing plants or Air Force bases, and it's not limited to Air Force bases, by the way. Recent word of other bases basically reinforced this, that industrial chemicals were used on military bases, and it seeps into the groundwater system that permeate out of the base, obviously, because the base doesn't just sit there and drill down 20 miles and prevent any liquids from circulating underneath. Well, in this particular instance, suddenly they realized they had a problem. In 2016, for example, Sarah McKinney was on a maternity leave when she got word that there was too much PFOA and PFOS in the tap water in her Colorado Springs suburb. She picked up her weeks-old daughter and hustled out to buy enough bottled water for her family of 5, which is a metric ton, by the way. Quote, "If I'm just spitting it out, can I brush my teeth?" She remembers wondering. Well, you'll minimize the exposure, but you'll still be permeating your face with this water. In response to concerns from people who had been drinking the water for years, McKinney's water utility switched to a different source, provided water bottle filling stations, and installed a $2.5 million water treatment system that was the first of its kind in the country, according to Lucas Hale, the water district manager, to be sure. The chemicals had gotten into the water from nearby Peterson Air Force Base, which then built a treatment facility, which, who knows? It's going to mitigate, of course, but the chemicals are still in the ground, seeping into the water. What about the other animals and other life in the area? It's still going to get permeated into those items as well. There are, in certain places, irradiated islands where we've done nuclear testing, and it's still irradiated where the fruit that grows is radioactive.
Oh, wow.
So the stuff doesn't just disappear because we no longer want to pay attention to it. It's still there. So it says
In fact,
nationally.
Sorry, that reminded me. There was another article in ohmTown today that we're not featuring, but it was about Chernobyl. And it had actually, I didn't read the whole article, but it had affected the genetics of dogs in the area, which is pretty astounding.
Yep, because the radiation actually does genetic modification. Wobble that is unnatural, but natural, because radiation is natural, just that concentration is not. So it can actually modify genetics if you remain in the area. And that genetic modification can continue on because it actually modifies the reproductive cells. Yeah, so this is how you end up with a what do you want to call it? A pillar dog, or a cat dog, or a cat and dog, or a dog cat? Something that has like centipede legs, or a scented dog. I don't know what you want to call it, but this is how you end up with some unnatural stuff.
A dogapede.
Dogapede, there you go. Yeah, and when it's not a purebred dogapede, then it's a mudapede. Anyway, so a consultant looked at federal and state test results and estimated that 4 to 12% of water providers nationally will need to treat for PFAS due to the EPA rule. And so be it. I mean, we got to keep citizens healthy, and that's where the money should be going. Albeit we have interests overseas as well, and we shouldn't be xenophobic about protecting our friends in other places. Their friends. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, that percentage is much lower than I would expect, but I also wonder, I assume those are localized water providers, but that doesn't tell us how much of the land is covered or how much of the population.
And just how many of the water providers, what is the number of water providers? This is a percentage,
Exactly.
But how many is the number of providers that are out there,
And for example, in a place like New York City, I have no idea if that's an affected area, there's millions of people in the population. So all of those are in that zone, for instance.
Right, for a particular water provider. And are they
Sure.
one of them? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this will be something that we'll keep an eye on, because PFAS is actually a growing concern, just like microplastics were. Remember, microplastics are a concern and people are actually doing research on them. But that's an older idea that got into the modern psyche. PFAS is even more new, where they're sitting there going, hey, this stuff is permeating the ground and causing long-term problems to people. It's because we didn't know what it is. But there are so many people out there that just go, well, I don't have a third arm, so I don't care. Yeah.
Well, and one of the problems is, of course, the water supply has been contaminated for a long time. So some of these places are in generations of impact and don't necessarily know it, or they're just learning it from other places we've seen in the news.
Yeah, exactly. And I apply that to even sociological forces. If you've lived in a world where all you've known is what you have been experiencing, that does not mean that the rest of the world is what you are experiencing. It just means that you're not privy to it. So I'm always fascinated by the fact that people go, well, that's how they live their life, and we shouldn't do anything to impact their way of life. And I say, if you show them that there might be a better way of life, why is that a bad thing versus maybe stopping this abuse that they've been going through, or ignorance that they've been dealing with, and not of their own accord? It's not like it's willful. It's that they've just not been shown anything different. And I think if you want to go the other way, that should be an educated decision, not somebody else's mandate. But it's about openness, inclusion, equity, opportunity. It's about open arms instead of xenophobic, closed door, put blinders on, don't allow our money to be spent other than within my microcosm. It's quite the opposite of what a whole cohort of people are interested in. Phys.org would not exist if not for the desire to seek more knowledge about the natural order of things, the natural existence. I'm always astonished that people are saying we need to stop doing this, that, or the other. We wouldn't know about forever chemicals. We wouldn't know about microplastics. We wouldn't know about so many harmful things to us if not for, people looking beyond themselves. So I'll move on to the next article. And I did say. Sorry, I'm just answering what the AI is asking. So the next article, which is number 7, right?
That's right.
How does subtraction work? Wow. All these lights, I'm just dazzled. I rolled a 1. Anyway, the next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Egypt unveils hidden corridor in Giza pyramid. I'm kind of bummed that they didn't find a little green man in there, or little green alien, I guess I should say. Anyway, scientists have discovered a hidden passage inside Egypt's Great Pyramid. The authorities announced on Thursday, part of a 7-year international research project, which involved some really amazing tech that I've actually seen, not firsthand, but via videos. Not only have I seen what they found, because they sent an endoscope down a little gap where the chevron stones for the real entrance into the pyramid form a point. They kind of slid an endoscope down the opening into this, I think it's about 6 feet tall area that continues the arches, the vaulted ceiling. It's really amazing. But they use I think it's called a muon detector. So let's go into the article itself.
Hey, so that is the best use of an endoscope ever if you're an endoscope. That's your best day. compared to your normal work.
Do you think there's sentient endoscopes out there? And in the grand scheme of things, we just haven't been able to figure out their language. And every endoscope that exists has its own personality. And it's like, what'd you do today? You don't want to know, man. You don't want to know.
Yeah.
When they say I've seen some stuff, man, I've seen some stuff. So now scientists from Technical University of Munich, which is, I guess, referred to as TUM, have used ultrasound and endoscopy to make an important contribution to confirming this assumption. I didn't think that it was ultrasound. They've used more than ultrasound. They used muon detectors. I hope that it talks about this in here. But they used a bunch of different resources to find this opening, because one versus the other was sitting there being said to be unreliable. And so they did a bunch of non-destructive testing before they decided to take that endoscope and stick it in the Great Pyramid, when they could have done that all along. I mean, it was there, and all they had to do was slide it down through this little... I don't want to frame this as anything other than an endoscope down a crack. Anyway, the status of the Egyptian pyramid is one of the best investigated structures in the world makes this find particularly important. They've actually found a much larger void in the pyramid, well above this one, over by the King's Chamber, above the King's Chamber, as a matter of fact. This is actually right above the opening and only extends about 20 feet, I think, 25 feet. So the Cheops Pyramid, or Cheops Pyramid, is considered the largest and oldest of the pyramids of Giza. As part of one of the seven wonders of the world, it has been thoroughly explored. However, the structure still holds many undiscovered secrets. As part of the international research team Scan Pyramids, which you can actually do a Google search for and find a bunch of videos on YouTube, have proven the existence of an empty chamber that was until now only posited based on measurement data. And I want to see if they actually mention the other. No, they don't. At least not so far. Anyway, this is a picture from the endoscope of what it looks like inside, with these rough-hewn blocks, where people assume that it was intentionally unfinished, and maybe even acting as pressure relieving chambers like the ones that are above the King's Chamber. And I'm really interested in that kind of thing, but I haven't done any research, educating myself on how the relieving chambers actually relieve weight, other than the fact that they are devoid of massive blocks above the King's Chamber. But then all of this is also covered in massive blocks. So I don't know how it works, but it's obviously a physics thing. So I'll have to take a look.
It did mention radar, so I don't know if that relates to the muon testing, possibly, but I didn't see anything about muon so far.
Yeah, at least not yet. So up here, I wish that this site wouldn't do this, but it kind of makes the fog of war kind of appear on these pictures. But up here in the red, which is hard to see, maybe if I click on it, it'll zoom. There we go. So up here is one of the voids that they're trying to figure out if it really exists. The one that they're talking about in this article is actually way down here and is tiny compared to the reality of this massive chamber up here. And so the one that they're looking at is amazing for what it is. But I'm waiting for this big one up here to be shown, with a little endoscope that's, 200 feet wide or long. So what they did was they put the little, I think it's actually right here, where the four chevrons meet together. Right there is the opening. And so it's always been there. And apparently there's a big enough opening to put your hand in, but ultimately it ends up being a little endoscope hole that you have to slide it down, based on the video that I saw and the words that I heard at the time the video was playing. So quite fascinating that we've done this, and it's only taken 5,000 years for us to stick an endoscope in it. So the chamber is larger than researchers had assumed in the past. The original measured data pointed to the existence of a corridor at least 5 meters long. However, according to initial estimates, the length of the chamber is considerably longer than that length. There are no footprints or other evidence of human activity seen within the chamber. Thus, the research group assumes that the room has not been seen by anyone for approximately 4,500 years. I wonder if those footprints would stay in the dust if dust coated it.
I mean, that makes me wonder, like, when would the footprints have disappeared? Or
But there's a lot of contention about just what writing actually exists in the pyramid, with people saying they said, and this isn't really writing from the time, but later on and things like that. Although some people said that there is writing that's obscured by other stones, and thus it is builder time frame writing. I don't know. There's been so much noise in Egyptology that I'm not really prone to following only what is handed to me, regardless of the paper. I trust but verify, and I can't verify anything beyond the obvious. So I think this is really neat. I think the transparency is amazing. How long they knew isn't actually particularly of issue, because they actually showed the endoscope going down the tube into that chamber. And now it's time for this bigger chamber to be exposed. So let's get to it, folks. And thanks phys.org and others. I mean, this is all over the internet at the moment. So you want to move on to the next article, or do you have anything that you want to add to this?
I don't have anything else to add.
It's pretty neat.
That's really cool. I don't remember when the last discovery has been like that. I mean, that stands out.
Well, so many investigations have been poo-pooed out of, well, they're going to be tampering with stuff, or they're going to expose information, etc. Nothing will ever be shown that challenges the preconceived notion of the historical record as provided by those that are in control. So you will always hear a reference bringing back, reinforcing it's always been this way. So this next article is over on the Late Night Geeks channel, which is a new edition activated. It's been in ohmTown, but it hasn't been acquiring much news. But I'm working on making everything more enhanced with updated news sources. This one is Ring is requiring a subscription for more camera and alarm features, because you always have to eke out more profits quarter after quarter. Otherwise, stockholders get really pissy. Yet another company will charge its customers more money for using existing features as the subscription-based smart home becomes the norm. Amazon owned Ring, so now I'm not going to become affiliate or partner over at Twitch. Just kidding, Twitch. I think you're awesome. But anyway, Amazon owned Ring is making several free features part of its paid subscription program starting in March 29th. As of that date, if you own a Ring video doorbell or a camera, you will no longer have access to home and away modes in the app without a paid subscription starting at $4 a month. So that, I think, has actually gone up. No. I think they've created more strata. So,
which means more money paid by the consumers usually.
Yeah, more tranches of opportunity for the organization to make more money. Eke out 10% more, and you are a hero CEO. Cost anything, and you are evil and must be replaced at all costs. I liken a lot of businesses to Dune and the Harkonnen being told by the Emperor to squeeze every last drop of, well, and in this Harkonnen, the what do you call him? I can't remember his name. It's Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. So Baron Harkonnen tells one of his kids to go, and the cousin actually, to go to Dune and squeeze every last bit of spice out of Dune, even going so far as to eliminate the Fremen. Anyway, sidetrack, because that's not what Ring is doing. Ring is basically just wringing money out of your wallet. So let's go over to the source. It's at theverge.com. The AI
Lost
knows.
another sponsor.
Ring and
Yes.
maybe Amazon and maybe.
Yes.
So on March 29th, all new users of the Ring alarm system will have to pay for basic features such as arming and disarming the system and using Alexa voice control. Jeez. My God, man. Arming and disarming the system.
That seems really low or high in this instance.
Oh my God. Okay, folks, everybody just do what you need to do, which is sink some money into an infrastructure piece of equipment. Prosumer, Ubiquity. You buy a UDM Pro, you buy some Protect storage, which is another device underneath it. It is basically it's a switch. So you connect your UDM Pro to the switch. It has storage. You connect cameras, a wireless doorbell or wired doorbell. It all records locally. You can exfiltrate that data offsite. So if anything happens to the house, you still have business, because it's prosumer. It's Wi-Fi 6E. You are in control of it. It's a one-time fee, at least for now. Ubiquity don't get any damn ideas. And you have local storage and remote storage. It's easy peasy.
You know, I'm going to be pretty mad if I installed a Ring, say, yesterday, because they're still subject to some of these fees, so they're not even grandfathered in.
Yep, as a matter of fact, this is the reason and quality control of the original Ring doorbell is why I removed my Ring doorbell and Ring camera, and I no longer have Ring products, because they kept inching away from what was the implied contract, which is I buy the product, I get the goods. Whatever it is that I'm buying now, it shouldn't change because you have a profit motive that exceeds your grasp at the time. Now suddenly it costs a little more, and then it costs a little more, but nothing fundamentally has changed. I have the same quality of service. I have the same piece of equipment. I have the same internet that's provided and the same reliability. And if I don't have the same reliability, you as a business is failing, not me as a customer. I bought it in good faith at a price point in good faith. Just because you have other duties as assigned doesn't mean that I am part and parcel to the contract, and my bargaining power is bound by walking away, which means I have to purchase more stuff from a competitor. And that's how you make your money, Ring, but I lose in all ways. I have to either sell it and the person buying it has to go, oh shit, now I'm the one stuck with this, or I stay there, or I leave entirely. I go buy something else.
I suspect, I don't agree with this approach, but I think this is like a lot of products. People buy them and then they never buy another product again because it works. And so as a business, it's like, well, wait, now what can we charge our consumers? But I really don't like this approach we're seeing out of, the automotive industry and this. It just seems like everybody's moving toward another subscription.
I actually purchased here. I don't want to give it away because I don't want anybody to hear what I'm saying and then run with it as if I'm, saying, hey, you should speak out on my behalf. I purchased something and I purchased a lifetime license, and then the company folded by being purchased by somebody else, and now they're providing the same solution to that other company, and they've killed off enhancement to the original product, but not until after I purchased a lifetime license. So now they are making more money on the same product in another company, and I'm stuck with a lifetime license that's not being developed except for extreme security patches. And even then, I don't know what the hole is. Even if they were to stall entirely for the next 5 years, the assumption would be, well, this is opening up slowly to security breaches because I'm security savvy to some degree. I won't promise that I'm 100%, but software that doesn't keep getting enhanced means that it's going to be a security issue at some point. But that's not what you're paying for. You're paying for a service to store this video remotely and provide access to this device remotely. Now you have to pay to get that access when previously you didn't. I'm just rather shocked. So they talk about the Ring app and Alexa and other things. The Pro plan, which used to be $10 a month, if I recall correctly, because I used to pay $99 a year. And now it's $20 a month and $200 a year. The basic plan is $40 a year. Oh, and that's it. This is why I say that I don't read the full article prior to the show. I read it as I'm going. And here is the very thing that I just got done saying. This used to cost just $10 a month, but Ring raised all of its prices last year. I haven't had Ring for approximately 4 years now, maybe 3. I'm kind of lost after COVID. I think I changed everything during COVID. At any rate, they even refer to it as the camera bait and switch seems most egregious. It's retroactive, whereas the Ring alarm change only applies to new users as of March 29th. My Ring camera stopped getting supported, but only because it kept on breaking and disconnecting and stopped functioning reliably. So I ended up, that was one of when both of them, the doorbell quality suffered, and then I had to start paying more. The camera itself, which was a separate device, just kept on disconnecting and failing. And then they integrated it into their Google app instead of the Ring app. It was just a big cluster. So at any rate, it says that there was an update here at 11:30 a.m. clarified that you only need a Ring Protect Basic plan to get access to the newly paywalled features on Ring Alarm. A Ring Protect Pro plan is $20 and is not required, but you still have to pay for something that when you first got it was initially free. This is something that I think should be addressed through litigation, through policy at the federal level. But you try and go against anything corporate says, and you are demonized. And again, I just want to make it abundantly clear to anybody who hears my voice. I am a capitalist through and through, but I'm an ethical capitalist who doesn't believe that stepping on people's necks to get ahead is the winning plan, the winning algorithm. No AI that is developed by a non-sociopath is going to tell you that, yeah, screw everybody, get yours. That's not how it's supposed to work as a member of society. Anyway, the next article is in the Law Nerd channel. Big Law Partner learns you shouldn't call opposing counsel an effing piece of shit, worthless human in court. That's right. You wait until you're at the bar. The judge wasn't pleased, but declined to impose sanctions, which it's one hell of a lenient judge.
Yeah.
This is an article over at Above the Law. So let's click that link. This is, I think, number 5, right? I think we're at number 5.
Oh, yes, right? It is. Sorry.
No. I think it's 4 now.
That's 5, I think.
Oh, it is 5. Okay. Math is hard. Subtraction is difficult. As the day goes on, it becomes more and more difficult. Only the AI could have deduced this. Come on. So let's go over to the Big Law article here. This is at abovethelaw.com, written by Catherine Rubino. It's over in the show notes as well, and the VOD. It's really not a good look when a federal judge calls your behavior unacceptable and deplorable. But that's exactly what happened to Taylor English partner Nathan A. White, who was bench slapped. I like that they came up with that. By federal judge Max O'Cogburn Jr. I just think this person dresses like in steampunk culture.
Oh, most definitely.
Top hat and
the glasses or
exactly.
Goggles, maybe.
Yeah. And a trench coat, but when they are on the bench, they swap out the trench coat for black robes. And then when they leave the bench, they take off the black robes and they're like, oh man, I am not comfortable in that flowing, airy robe. I'm going to put on that heavy 200-pound trench coat with brass fittings and stuff. Yeah. Exactly. Max O'Cogburn Jr. presiding. And he talks like that. I'm going to say that your stuff is unacceptable and deplorable. Gessner filed a motion seeking sanctions on the way that White treated her. As reported by the ABA Journal, Gessner described a disturbing courtroom confrontation on February 28th after jurors for the first phase of the trial were dismissed and the court was in recess. I'll just say a little bit about it, I'm not going to read the whole thing because y'all can go and do that. Suddenly, without warning or provocation, White spoke to Gessner very loud and in a condescending tone, asking her whether she was aware which defendants were represented by Dancy, the sanctions motion says. After Gessner responded that she was aware, White exploded and began yelling, the motion says. You're an effing piece of shit, worthless human, White allegedly said. You know what? You are a worthless human. Gessner said she responded that White doesn't get to speak to her like that, and if she can't speak to her with respect, he should not say anything at all. I had a similar conversation like that. They didn't speak to me that way, otherwise they probably wouldn't be standing next to me anymore. But yeah, speak with respect at all times, folks. Particularly in a professional setting. And in a courtroom, I'm surprised that Judge Cogburn found White did, in fact, use vulgar language against Ms. Gessner, approached her in an antagonistic manner, and otherwise acted towards Ms. Gessner in the manner she described in her motion. And it was undisputable that White engaged in multiple types of inexcusable professional misconduct by verbally attacking opposing counsel in the courtroom and in the presence of court staff, and the court security officer. Meanwhile, Gessner at all times acted professionally during the verbal altercation. So why weren't sanctions actually performed? Why wasn't?
Because there was some medical issue. I think that's why. I think there's more to the story that we're not getting in the article. Because that should have resulted in sanctions.
Yes. The medical issue as justification for your poor behavior.
I mean, it does not excuse it, but I think that's probably why that wasn't pursued.
No. Okay, my sarcasm might be abundant. Anyway, if you have the ability to string together that diatribe in response to a question being answered, then I think you're pretty damn healthy. But maybe I'm just an intolerant mayor.
You know, if you have enough composure to make a court appearance, presumably you're in reasonably good shape.
Yeah. If they would have said after the event, they were...
Right, that would have been a completely different context.
Oh, we got it. Okay, so you had like a mini stroke and that impaired your cognitive abilities to filter your verbiage. You went, completely into the F-bomb dictionary. Yeah. Or what? What would be the thing for the not a dictionary.
For the law?
Synonyms and stuff. I mean, it's in the dictionary.
A thesaurus?
A thesaurus. There you go. See? Did you know that that's the only dinosaur that could speak? I'm going to move on. So here we are. The next article is Jameson will pay you $10,000 to call in sick and drink beer on St. Patrick's Day. Jameson is launching a contest to offer drinkers a $10,000 bonus to play hooky on March 17th, according to an email from the brand. Individuals can pledge to take PTO on that day through a contest website to be entered for a chance to win a cash prize. One winner will receive a $10,000 check, but only if they can prove that they stepped away from their desk for that day. You know, we're still kind of teleworking. Everybody can be possibly away from their desk.
This is kind of a weird time to do the contest, but it's kind of enticing. I'm like, I get to take the day off from work.
Yeah,
and
really.
I might win some money too. And maybe I get to drink Jameson. I don't know.
Yet somehow, even if we were to say that we were going to take this day off, we'd still end up working no matter what. There's always work. I wonder if this counts. This is pretty stress-free, so I don't know if this is work.
I don't think this is work.
Jameson will call the winner between 3 and 4 p.m. that afternoon to ensure they're celebrating properly with friends and family. Ha! I got him beat. I don't have any friends. Anyway, then they link to what might be a recipe over at vinepair.com. So let's go over to that source. Ba-dunk. And guess what? It's VinePair. So there's a picture by Jameson Irish Whiskey. It says the photography is Jameson Irish Whiskey. So I don't know if this person's name is Jameson Irish Whiskey, but
they picked a good place to work with that name.
So Nicolette Baker is the writer for this article over at vinepair.com. And again, it's titled Jameson will pay you $10,000 to call in sick and drink beer on St. Patrick's Day. Well, I can't lie, but I can say I want to take a personal day.
You now have whiskey, not beer, right?
I'm sorry?
They should probably be drinking whiskey, not beer, right?
I can accomplish that. Pretty easy mode. You now have 0 excuses for missing this year's St. Patrick's Day celebrations, except for maybe getting fired or not having food on the table. Jameson is launching a contest to offer drinkers $10,000 bonus to play hooky. I could not sign up for this earlier today, and I think it starts formally on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So the contest coincides with a cheeky initiative from the Irish whiskey brand to encourage employees to take allotted PTO. Actor and producer Regina Hall partnered with Jameson to introduce the $17 desk decoy, a personalized cardboard cutout for people to place at their desks on St. Patrick's Day. Again, I've got them beat. I don't have a desk. So if your supervisor doesn't fall for it, don't blame them. There is more to this article. It says all proceeds from the festive promotion will benefit the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation, and orders for the personalized cutouts will end on March 10th and will be delivered by St. Patrick's Day. What do you think? Well, the AI can't get drunk except on information, so...
I think the contest sounds fun. Because it's a day off from work, even if you don't win.
True. So I guess it's a win-win. Except for not getting paid if you get paid by the day.
That only works if you have a day to take off. Not if you're hourly or something and going to lose your job. I would not recommend entering the contest then.
Yeah, that's why they say PTO, so paid time off.
Yeah.
So, or personal time off. The next article, and I think that we are at number 3. What does venture capital due diligence process look like? Here is a step-by-step guide. I'm very interested in kind of espousing the entrepreneurship perspective of things. And one of those things is when you get ripe for venture capital and investing, You as an entrepreneur, want to be familiar with the process so that you at least come across knowing somewhat of what this process is about. So we're going to just follow this link. Let me make sure that I've got it. My goodness. Here we go. So Alexander, I guess it's Chachava or Kakava. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, Alexander. Anyway, venture capital firms typically follow a due diligence process when evaluating potential investment targets. This is a step-by-step explanation of it prepared by a seasoned venture capitalist. So I've pitched businesses and worked with people to pitch over the years. And this is the paperwork behind the pitch, not anything having to do really with the pitch itself. This is all the paperwork. So you do an initial screening to identify if the startup has potential, if it has legs. If it has legs, then you do more research into it. If you have, as a VC or angel, you think that there is a chance that this will be a success, you are largely investing in both the senior leadership of the enterprise and buying into their dream, and looking at if they have a strategic advantage to excel in the market. So you won't invest in something where you might, just so that you can get a piece of the action because you know it has momentum. But if you really want a massive return on your investment, then the strategic advantage of the company and the dream and motivation of those founders is very, very important to you. So it says during the first conversion, it says conversions. It's conversations with the founders. The VC firm makes a preliminary review of the company's business plan, market opportunity, and management team. And from that point on, you can superficially assess the profile of the startup and make a decision regarding further observation. So if they're a complete numbnuts when you were talking to them in that initial meeting, guess what you're not going to do? Hopefully, invest. Not ruin their dream, but just make their lack of a real dream immediately apparent to them. And actually, if you're a VC and you tell somebody that and they don't buy into it, it'll either make them stronger in formulating their dream into something another VC or you at a later date can buy into. If they can make it live, then maybe at a later date you'll invest. It'll be at a different valuation, so you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So then you do market research, and that's to find out about its size and competition. I'm reading some of the snippets of this, but you really want to find out if there is an opportunity for this business to grow, not just to what it is now, but with your money, your capitalization, will it explode on the scene? Much like Facebook, right? Not to use Facebook as an example, but it's one of the biggest explosions in adoption one can actually discuss, along with like TikTok and stuff like that. But basically, Facebook was a college project run by somebody that I think is unethical. But at any rate, a couple of investors came along and capitalized it, and it blew up. And then they were tied to and had connections to a bank. So when they ended up doing an IPO, the minimum value for the stock was held there by the bank and buyers, making sure that the stock price was held up, and turned it into a very successful IPO. Why? Because they did the market research and they knew what this particular developer had in mind, along with the investors in the initial angel rounds and VC rounds. Basically amplified the ability for Facebook to become what it is today. But they did a financial analysis and said, well, this is what it's worth. This is where we see it's going. This is how much we'll invest. And they have pre-money valuation and post-money valuation. And when you are born with a silver spoon in your mouth, you can tell your investors, I want to maintain 51%. Otherwise, you'll lose control of the business. And the board can vote you out as CEO, and you just become what amounts to a silent partner with a whole lot of shares. And you can become an activist investor, but you'll still be on the outs based on the board voting you out as CEO. So hold on to 51% with all your might if you can. Then there's, or I should say, the dominant share that is being traded, because if somebody else gathers up 51%, then you are on the outs, or I should say the dominant amount of shares in control. So it gets a little murkier from here, because you'll have to do a legal review that costs money, technology assessment and customer validation, which basically shows that you have that strategic advantage and that there are customers that are actually buying it, and then management evaluation and reputation check. If you see somebody that's kind of pulling what's his name, George Santos, then you basically punt. And then due diligence report is provided by the VC analyst, who will write a report and provide it to you. If you are paying somebody else to do it, you are typically part of a firm. Otherwise, if you're doing all of this by yourself, then you're either an AI yourself or just a juggernaut in the industry. And you focus on something very specific. But usually you have somebody else that does a lot of this. Other than direct interviews, and you read the reports and you verify through questions and stuff like that to the team that's about to get invested in. Pretty interesting. Definitely go over to entrepreneur.com and read more of this, because what I did was basically an abstract summary of the full steps, and you'll always glean more from an article if you go and read it. And I do encourage you, if you're interested in this kind of thing. Did you want to add anything, AI?
No, I don't have anything else to add on this one.
Right on. Okay. So we have 2 more articles to go over. This is number 2. It's in the Late Night Geeks channel, which is basically a channel for gamers to talk about gaming gadgets and technology late into the night. I am a night owl by nature. And I'm usually up until 2, maybe later, but I'm not necessarily streaming. But I would love to do Late Night Geeks as long as I can. But I'm always looking for somebody to host shows. So if you're interested in this, let me know, and we'll work something out. Just get in touch with mayor at ohmTown.com. That said, how an insect using its butt to flick pee droplets could keep your smartwatch dry. Yeah, I said all that.
I think that's the best headline for tonight's show.
I would probably hazard a guess that this is the best one in terms of headlines ever.
Yeah, that's true.
The incredible way this bug pees could inspire more efficient designs for water-resistant devices, because I guess their little pee droplet right there isn't actually touching them, I suppose. And here's another phrase that I will probably never say outside of this show. This is the sharpshooter insect with a pee droplet excreta on the anal stylus.
I hope that's the last time you ever say that sentence.
Worst brand of iPad stylus ever. And it doesn't even write underwater. Saad Bamla was in his vegetable garden in Atlanta, Georgia, when he first noticed the feet. The sharpshooter forms neat, round pea droplets, and then it flicks it away with lightning speed. Bamla, a Georgia Tech assistant professor of biomolecular engineering, whipped out his iPhone, ironically, to take some slow motion videos. The more I zoomed in, the more I realized it was doing something interesting, Bamla tells The Verge. So it turns out the sharpshooter accomplishes something with its urine that hasn't been documented in biological system until now, a phenomenon known as superpropulsion. So how the sharpshooter does this is detailed in a research paper by Bamla and colleagues, published this week in the journal Nature Communications. When nature calls, it flicks a pee droplet at you. Because when that's what they call it. When nature calls, you have to go pee. Right? Am I the only one?
That's right.
Talk about nature communications. I gotta pee. Anyway, it might just help humans figure out how to achieve super propulsion too. Man. For those of us... never mind. I'll just leave it all alone. So the next sentence in this, I'm sorry for the dead air, but I'm actually watching the status of the AI completely break down. Anyway, the next part of this sentence is not with piss, but with smartwatches and other devices that dry themselves off. I gotta... Well, my entire body is wet, but my watch is dry. It was because I was super propulsing recently, and I got it all over myself. Simply put, super propulsion allows an elastic object to fly at speeds faster than the thing launching it. Precise timing between the squishy object and its catapult gives the object an energy boost. All right. I don't think I want to watch a video of that. No, actually, I'm really curious to see if they actually have this recorded. Anyway, once the droplet is at the right size and shape, the flicker rotates backwards and another 15 degrees, and then it flicks the droplet away like a pinball. I figured catapult would be a better thing, but I don't know. The butt flicker is incredibly fast, accelerating more than 40 Gs, which is 40 times faster than the acceleration of a sprinting cheetah, which we happen to know got out of its enclosure recently and scared the bejesus out of everybody before being safely returned to its enclosure. But I don't think it was a cheetah butt flicker.
Not that we know of.
Not that we know well. What's more amazing is that the pea flies at an even higher speed than the butt flicker, the telltale marker of super propulsion. Apparently they're using speakers and high-speed camera or I should say a camera. It doesn't look like a special camera, but anyway, they're using speakers to develop this technology. This research is interesting. So the Apple Watch's water lock feature, for example, can already squirt water out of the device after swimming. But as far as Baumla is aware, devices like this don't yet utilize super propulsion. And if an engineer can learn from the sharpshooter, then maybe it'll be able to design more efficient water ejection systems for gadgets. Yeah, there's a thing where you can push on your Apple Watch and it'll vibrate the speaker at a high frequency to eject water out of it. All right, folks. You want to move on to number one, or do we want to admire the sharpshooter insect with a pea droplet excreta on the anal stylus? I had to say that.
It's time to move on to the next article.
Should have skimmed right over that. So the last article, the number one for today, which was actually the number one. The last article was number one, but in a different way. Okay, I should probably stop. This Girl Scout cookie costs $100 a box, and here's why. Girl Scout Raspberry Rally cookies are so in demand that resellers are listing boxes on eBay at a significant upcharge. The new online exclusive debuted this year to much anticipation, and the Girl Scout spokesperson did not provide information about a possible restock. So I guess we're never going to get Raspberry Rally Girl Scout cookies here in ohmTown.
I guess not, if they're already sold out, and we're not going to spend $100 a box.
And online only. So this is a BusinessInsider.com article by Bethany Byron. I don't know. See, but I really like raspberry. It's a lot of money. But But this is why we can't have nice things, because there are people that will exploit that they have disposable income and they are greedy. So instead of just letting people actually get them at a responsible rate, people are buying them up in gobs and then reselling them on eBay because they're shits.
Well, the other thing that I don't like is that if somebody's spending $100 on one box, they could be buying multiple boxes from a local troop and supporting the very organization, but instead of some reseller.
And I wonder how many people have an in with the Girl Scouts where they have the ability to get gobs of these things and then sell them on eBay. I mean, there should have been a limit on the number that were being sold to a particular location, but then, you are the bad person for suggesting putting a limit on the number. That's socialist. Anyway, Girl Scout spokesperson didn't say that there's going to be a possible restock because they are out, yet you can buy them for $100 on eBay. I don't know if this is the anomaly. Obviously, this could be just one person. Just because there were people that were willing to buy an app on the App Store for $1,000. Why wouldn't somebody try to take advantage of the out of stock nature of this? I don't know. Maybe we can do a search of eBay later, and if it's worthwhile talking about it, we can talk about it later. But anyway, we encourage cookie customers to find a local booth to try different flavors, and their first choice isn't available. Or donate to their local council's cookie donation program to support the largest girl-led entrepreneurship program in the world. That's an interesting turn of phrase. Selling cookies for the Girl Scouts is the largest girl-led entrepreneurship program in the world. Still, this hasn't stopped people desperate for the cookies to crowdsource on Twitter and Facebook groups in search of boxes of raspberry rallies. If it's going to be this popular, man, just start producing more. The problem is that they aren't making the money.
Had them, so maybe they didn't know. But yeah, you're right. The proceeds aren't going to the Girl Scouts.
Right. It's just creepy people that are selling them instead of more being purchased by people buying them or telling, hey, we'll pre-order them. Here's gobs of money.
Right.
These aren't people that want these cookies. They want the money. So it's all about the greed, not facilitating entrepreneurial girls. Or maybe it's the girls that are buying them and selling them on eBay. I guess that would be the appreciated entrepreneurial spirit, right?
Well, at least that would be going back to the Girl Scouts.
It wouldn't, though, because the Girl Scouts are buying it at...
Oh, for individual proceeds. I thought you meant they were selling it on behalf of the troops.
No. If the troops were selling them at market prices, market demand rates, where nobody could buy them except for the Girl Scouts selling them on eBay on supply surge pricing, then Girl Scout cookies would be $100 a box and going to the Girl Scouts. But that's not what this is, right? Kind of fascinating argument we're having. What do you think? We should do that. That's what they should do. Dole them out to all of the troops, and then the troops sell them at market surge pricing. Some troops can hold off. Others sell them on. Go ahead.
I like that for the Girl Scouts. I don't like that for the people that actually want to buy the cookies and consume them.
Live by the sword, die by the
locally.
sword. Live by the sword, die by the sword. All of these people that are selling them on eBay for, 5 times the price from the Girl Scouts per box.
Try 20 times the price.
Oh, it's $5 a box, for crying out loud.
But that's what I mean. You could be going up to a local troop and buying 20 boxes for the price that you're buying one box online, and then it's actually going to the source instead of just somebody's pocket. That's quite maddening.
So, I decided to go and look it up. And right now the average price is somewhere around $25, barring the anomaly ones. Like there's one for 10 boxes of these for $170. So they're selling for, close to 4 times. But you get free shipping. Holy crap. Anyway, about $25 a box. There's one person who is selling it for $11 a box. It has 9 bids, but 2.5 days later, it'll probably be closer to that $25. In fact, let me look. This is how the sausage is made, folks, and I'm going to leave all of this here. Okay, so somebody is selling 5 of them for $86 plus $9 in shipping, and it's going to end in 4 hours, so it will probably hit that $20 a box rate, maybe $25 a box. Nobody else comes really close to that price, but everybody else is selling like 1 box for $20, 3 boxes for whatever they packs, for right now $36 plus $10 in shipping. So yeah, I think I'm right at about the $25 a piece, except for this one here that's 5 for $86 right now. It'll probably be about 120, maybe 100 by the time it ends. So there you go, folks. Not only is this a little overstating, but this belies the real value of these raspberry rallies. Has anybody actually tried them to say that they're really yummy?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, some Girl Scout cookies are really good, but that's not the flavor that I would spend $100 a box on.
What would you spend $100 on?
The Thin Mints, or what used to be called American Samoas. I think they're like caramel delights or something, but they're basically chocolate, coconut, and caramel.
Yeah, I love both of those. It's weird, but the AI can only have the chemical makeup and appreciate its subtle nuance based on the qualification of its flavors based on human consumption and then written down for you, as well as the quantification of its chemical components, since you're hooked up to a chemical scanner as well. So I'm glad that you can appreciate Girl Scout cookies here in ohmTown. So I'm a good mayor, if I do say so myself. All right, folks. So do you want these? Should I seek them out?
I'd rather have 20 boxes of the other kinds. But actually, I would like to see them and get them for ohmTown since they're such a hit. Not to resell them, but just to buy a box.
Right. Well, if we were to acquire these, I would not resell them. I think it's unethical to do that kind of stuff. Scalping, equivalent of scalping.
And I'd want to put those proceeds, if I did resell it for some reason, I'd want to send that back to the local Girl Scout troop. Yeah.
And we do that all the time. In fact, I support every year an anti-bullying campaign as well. I buy a shirt or a hat or something to support that, and the Girl Scouts and other organizations. And everybody should do a little bit, because every little bit helps. Obviously, there are some people that have billions that could do great things with their billions, even if they're making more billions than they're spending. But it's not my money. So, well, it is via taxpayers, taxes being given to the billionaires, because you don't become a billionaire by spending your own money. You use other people's money. Anyway, soapbox moved over. Again, I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com. I'm actually looking at the stream, so I know it looks kind of funny when I do that. But you want to say bye, oh great AI from on high.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you tomorrow.
It gets more flowery, as depending on how long we stream. More and more exasperated, right? description of the AI. Oh, great AI. Thank you for gracing us with your presence here in ohmTown, AI. You want to say bye one more time?
Sure.
Too bad. Bye-bye.